So this is the recovery of the bees that's in a cooler next to the road. We later figured it out that these are two coolers glued together with a cushion in the bottom that was probably a home for feral cats or something like that before the honeybees took them over. So I'm clearing a path here, you might say. Trying to make it a neat little work spot here. Don't want to be tripping over anything and falling into the bees. Nor do I want to drop the bees, so just going to neaten it up a little bit with a piece of cardboard. And I'm going to suit up and put my veil on and get the smoker ready and check to see if my cardboard box will fit. Looks like it's going to be perfect. So the idea here is to actually just take that whole thing and place it right into the box. Like I said, it's got to be one of the easiest ones ever. Give me a little bit of smoke to calm them down. At this point I realized there's a lot of weight to it, a lot of bees. Wow, there's no bottom. Or there is a bottom, and I thought it was an upside down cooler at this point, but I realized it was two coolers glued together. So there's no work for me to do as far as the cooler goes. Bees are all inside, and it's just a matter of putting them in the box. You might have noticed the humongous spider that just crawled through the screen. My wife was really worried about that later on, that if we brought it home or not. Just taping up the box. Keep the bees from falling out while I go down the road, getting them back to the Bliss backyard farm. Just doing the final taping here. As you can see, it's like easy as can be. There it is. Now this is once we're back at the Bliss Backyard Farm, unboxing of the bees. Had a few issues with the smoker, so I had to reprime it, you might say. Give them a little bit more smoke. You probably don't even realize they traveled several miles down the road. Starting to disassemble the whole thing, just kind of breaking apart the old cooler. And I realized at this point how ancient that comb is that's inside there. Some of it's almost like rock solid comb. So I have some frames, open frames, with some rubber bands, as you'll see in a few minutes. I'll be cutting some of those comb out of there and putting them in the frame. So there's like the first piece fitting into the frame with rubber bands. I believe that was a lot of stored honey, and they get to keep that because we are in the midst of what we call winter in Florida, but we still have blooming flowers and whatnot, so. But I'll keep that with them and put it in the hive box. The comb was like I said earlier, really, really old comb. Kind of hard even to cut. I think they were running out of places to lay eggs because the comb gets smaller over time with the shell of the larvae in there. Now I'm shaking off the bees into the box, hoping to get the queen at one shake or another. As you can see, they're not real excited or anything. Not at this point. It's kind of like repeat the whole process till you get all the comb. Sometimes it's difficult to fit the comb in the frame. You got to cut it into a square for the frame. I think these bees just don't realize how much better off they're going to have it. So step by step here, I'm cutting out the comb. Shaking them into the hive box. some of the comb that doesn't have anything on it, I'll go ahead and put that. I won't even put that in the box. Most definitely put the brood in there though. Some of it has brood on it, some of it has honey. Just kind of a repetitive process here. You gotta cut it loose and shake it in the box and then decide whether you want to frame it or not. I believe that had some brood on it. I believe that was a lot of honey. And there's my wife pointing at a queen. She says kind of ducked down in the corner underneath the last bits of comb that's in the cooler there. We're constantly looking for the queen, but she'd seen it earlier down in that lower corner, so I'm going to shake that off right into the box. The queen in the box, hopefully, and the worker bees will decide she's in there, and some of them even start fanning the outside the box to let the other bees know that she's in there, and they will follow her right into the hive box, and they know that's their new home because that's where the queen is. Some clusters of the bees ended up on the ground, and they eventually find their way into the new hive box because they pick up the scent of the queen and decide to go in there and into their new home. So some of the final pieces of the comb. Didn't look like it was viable, had nothing in it. But I'm sorting through some of it I set on the side there. As you'll see later on, I will decide to put new frames with foundations in it so they can better build the newer comb where the queen can lay her eggs, and then I'll eventually transfer out all this foundationless with comb for frames with foundations. the bees will actually drag those rubber bands outside the hive eventually because they know they're not supposed to be in there. It's kind of funny to see them just pulling that rubber band right outside the front. They are good housekeepers. And it looks like one probably just got me on the finger there. They do occasionally sting through the gloves, but normally only if you pinch them into something. They were forming on the outside of the box. Try to keep as many as we can in the box. I'm cutting some more of the comb. Try to save as much of their resources that they work so hard for. Put in there so make them feel like it's their home. And hopefully they'll stay. As you can see, they're all clustered on the outside of the box. That's the front of the box right there. I did notice some of the bees had their tails up in the air and they were fanning, so that means the queen is inside. So you just stretch the rubber bands over it until you get it secure, but the bees will eventually secure that right to the frames with new comb. You just want it to be stable in there. So, here's the bee sitting on a clean piece of cardboard. All the other bees are deciding, hey, this must be where the queen is. They're all trying to get inside. This will definitely be a better spot for them. And here's a view of the hives actually setting in the location they'll stay. I'm opening it up now. This is several days later. We'll see what type of progress they've made. They've settled in pretty good. A little while back you caught the front of this with some branches in front of it. That's to reset their GPS, you might say. When they zigzag through debris like that, it resets them when they're relocated and they know how to get back to the hive. So you can see they've started making new comb. Piece right there I'm pointing at. And they're attaching the other old comb to the frames. Another piece comb is freshly made. Get them spaced properly. I'm going to eventually put some new frames in here. Frames that I've coated with fresh wax. The foundations with fresh wax. So they can start all over and have a nice clean set of comb for the queen to start laying her brood in. And there's a lot of honey. Okay, there's a frame with a foundation on it. Even though the foundations come coated, I go ahead and put milk wax and actually brush on some extra wax to give them a good start. So I've replaced one frame. They only had 7 frames in there to begin with, so it's 8 frames. So I replaced one and put an additional one in. They'll start building that comb. I put them towards the center, so she'll start, once they build the comb, they'll start laying their brood, or she will. And eventually add another brood box to this with more frames. Should start producing around springtime. Those strips were to prevent the mites, so that helps keep the mites off of them and kills the mites. And this is a shot of the front of the box. Bunch of happy bees in their new home. Like I said earlier, this had to be the easiest relocation of bees. Pardon the pun, like it was meant to be. I want to thank everybody for watching this video. And if you would, hit subscribe. Greatly appreciated. I'll have additional videos. Subscribe or follow or whichever way you want to call it. And thank you in advance.